Hey guys, so my channel is about highlighting the crimes of gang stalking in America, where I share my experiences and showcase videos of the perpetrators in action. So my name is Terrence and I'm from the most beautiful island in the world, Jamaica that is. Now, since becoming a target for gang stalking, there have been several failed attempts to frame me with prison in mind. And to think of it, I have served in the United States Army for 22 years with 6 years supporting 2 presidents and retired honorably in 2020. I see myself as empathetic, caring and kind, and I also believe in fairness to include justice and freedom from any form of prejudice or injustices. And so, my content is meant to open the eyes of the public to a well-hidden crime that is being used against their fellow citizens every day in plain sight, and also to let other veterans and citizens who are current targets know that they are not alone. By subscribing to my channel, you're helping me reach a wider audience with my story. My content will showcase several gang stalkers stalking their targets with impunity, and I will also share my journey from soldier to civilian, my obstacles, my challenges, and my triumph. I believe that it is important to alert the public to this crime that most people are absolutely unaware of. Equally important is that I have always been an advocate for fairness, truth, and doing that which is right, which is why I am hosting this channel. Hey guys, thank you so much for hitting up my channel again, and remember to like, share, and subscribe. So, like most service members, I was on the cusp of retirement, man, and I was a nervous wreck. Can you imagine serving in the military for 22 years and suddenly it's time for me to leave? I was nervous and unsure about my future. And even though I was thoroughly prepared for the transition, nothing was going to prevent me from stressing about the uncertainties that was about to hit me from all directions in 2020. You see, I was not the typical service member who was about to retire and ride off into the sunset. No, sir. Matter of fact, I was a targeted individual with enemies who had all the wrong people in the right places and who had powers necessary to negatively alter the very course of my life. Or so they thought. You see, I was supposed to be relegated to poverty, homelessness, and possibly losing my family after retirement. And these demons, guys, these demons were very confident in their plans to destroy me. They saw me as an easy target and one without support who was about to crumble like a cookie dough in their presence. But they were mistaken. Now, had they done their research, they would have seen that I had already been through the valleys of the shadows of death in Italy and Washington, D.C., as members of the society and their conspirators swarmed me like locusts to devour me. Yet, here I am in the presence of this pseudo-secret society, unscathed, unafraid, non-violent, which is what they crave, and still clothed in my right mind. Now, as stated in a previous episode, guys, these society vagrants openly bragged about their presumed victory over me as they waved expensive bottles of alcohol, guys. They were prematurely celebrating the upcoming destruction of my life, and they were so assured by their connections and vast network of demons that they were so convinced that their plot was about to yield the finishing punch. Yet, again, here I am, strong, mentally and physically, and resolute like an oak tree. And guess what? Most importantly, or more importantly, I am in a place that God has prepared for me. And I must admit, though, that I could never have prevailed against this menagerie of powerful, hateful hosts of dark powers without my God's intervention. And you got to understand that they have tried and failed to set me up on several occasions. They have tried and failed to set me up on several occasions while on active duty and after retiring. Now, since retiring from the military, guys, I heard that they use the phrase risk mitigation to stalk me as an excuse to stalk me. And my question is, risk to who? Who am I a risk to? Because the last time I checked, you are the risk. And the one who is so toxic that your risk to this country cannot be mitigated. Let me show you something. You see these right here? These boots right here? They both serve in Afghanistan and Iraq. They both did. And what I'm trying to say to you guys is that these boots that I served that I wore in the combat zone overseas, carries more value and have served more honorably than you ever will. And I'm talking about this pseudo-secret society and their trainers who have intentionally abused the law every day and does not have the courage to say this is wrong, because these people are so drunk on this tribal-like mentality, which is nothing more than a weakness to me, as far as I'm concerned. So check this out. So a few years ago, I was told by a member of the society, while stationed over there in Italy, that I was finished. And you know what? One of them who I had labeled the sellers of soul, let that sink in, who I had already labeled the sellers of souls in Europe, sent out a letter to everyone in my branch of service 3 months before I retired. Now, while most of the soldiers who read that craziness immediately sent it to the trash can, I never did. Because at the very bottom of that single page of gibberish was a short sentence. You are finished. Which was an exact line, by the way, that was used to threaten me a few years earlier by a supervisor who was removed from the military for incompetence. They never learned. And also, guys, a known member of the society. And so I had every reason, which is why I was nervous before exiting the military. Which is why I had every reason to be concerned about my future before, stepping out into the real world. You see, this pseudo-secret society was bent on destroying me, and they could not contain themselves. Man, these guys were so excited to see me stepping from beneath the veil of protection offered by the Army, the U.S. Army, and the federal government. And no sooner had I retired from the military, they attacked me socially, psychologically, and financially. And later, espionage allegation to include drug dealing and a sleeper cell was added. Just another factor in their sick little games. They also slandered my name and tarnished my image with the intention of making me unappealing to employers. They make it so that I was unappealing to employers and those who I call my friends. They then lied to the people close to me and those in my neighborhood in hopes of isolating me. Guys, that is why no one can walk up to me and tell me, no one is going to use me to hate another person who has never done anything to me, because I'm not stupid. I am not stupid. The devil is a manipulator. The devil is a liar. The devil is a skilled, very skillful actor. And he knows how to use people, because we are a ball of emotions, you know? And sometimes I wonder if we are inherently hateful, because it is so easy to manipulate us. You see, their goal was to force me to spiral into mental health oblivion or resort to crimes of revenge. But that was never my thing. That was never my thing, because vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And who is better at destroying the wicked but God? Huh? To be frank, guys, to be frank, these people are a joke. They are a joke, and that is why I labeled them the Beavis and Butthead Gang. You should see them stalking me, guys. You should see them stalking me. They look absolutely pathetic. Out there looking like the cartoon character Cow and Chicken. They look absolutely ridiculous, guys. Now, one of the many things that the deviants would do after I retired from the military was to hire me for no more than 3 months at a time and use those periods to put viruses on my computer, and also call my phone, my office, and talk crazy. For example, one of them called to ask how long I had been a sleeper cell. A sleeper cell. Another asked when I had planned and starting the killing. Now, you got to understand, guys, those were some serious questions. Serious questions, because they were stalking me with the intention of eliciting a negative reaction from me. But like I said in a previous episode, the United States Army had sent me, and God is good, because I almost never took that course. The United States Army sent me to a great course called Master Resiliency Trainer course, which literally saved my life. It literally saved my life. So these guys asked me when I was going to start the killing, and I'm telling you guys, these people were and still are very, very petty. I also remembered a female sergeant major from the Marine Corps called me at work one morning, and instead of asking for help to fix her computer, guys, she asked if I was familiar with the word integrity and what it meant. And I remember wanted to school her on matters of integrity, you know, and topped it off nicely with a dash of well-tailored insult. But I could not bring myself to do it. Because she was at work. And since she was at work, I knew that she was wearing the uniform. And so I thought that if I disrespect her, then I would be disrespecting the uniform, which I knew at the time was more valuable than she was based on her conduct. And so I refrained from responding to her insult or sarcasm in kind. You know, and I did so out of respect for the uniform. However, had she been calling from home, had she told me that she was calling from home, because they'll let you know, then I would have definitely responded in kind. Now, also, guys, check this out. There was this one guy who called me and began to play a pre-recorded message that sounded like he was underwater. You are as patient as a snake, sleeper cell boy, he said. In other words, I was a terrorist waiting to be activated. Imagine that. Imagine that. Guys, have you ever heard about the goddamn Jamaican terrorists? Seriously. All jokes aside, have you ever heard about the goddamn Jamaican terrorists? It doesn't exist. That was just a cheap shot, you know, just a cheap way of trying to elicit that negative emotion that never really manifested itself. I'm 10 steps ahead of them. But guys, that was nothing comparing to a person who snuck up behind me in my office at work. And after turning around, I sensed this presence. And after turning around, guys, I saw a woman sitting on the floor behind me with a device in her hand, recording my computer screen. And you know that what that was, right? Psychological warfare, guys. Psychological warfare. They were hoping to piss me off. They were hoping to elicit that negative reaction from me. And that is how the devil works. Well, let me not say psychological, it's spiritual warfare. It is spiritual warfare. That's all it was. Check this out, right? You got to understand that the gang stalker operates from a spiritual perspective, right? He operates from a spiritual perspective. And here is an example. So, can you see love? Can you see love? No, you can't. You cannot see love. But love manifests itself through kindness, caring, uplifting, right? It manifests itself through those things. But you can't see it. Can you see hate? No. You cannot see hate, which is spiritual. Likewise, love, in my opinion, is spiritual, but it's from God. It's of God, right? And so is hate is also spiritual. And how does hate manifest itself? Through revenge, right? Hate. Harming others, which is, like I said earlier, spiritual warfare. That's how hate manifests itself. Tearing down others, gang-stalking, and many other dark acts. So let's get back to these people that were calling me at work, right? So that woman guy I told you about, yeah, she was recording my computer screen, which was a psychological attack. And another strategy that they used was to let me see the word monitoring flashing on the bottom right corner of my computer. They wanted me to know that they were monitoring me. All psychological warfare, guys. Because I'm supposed to be a spy. Matter of fact, the first day when I turned up to that job, guys, a guy called me with a very thick accent, and whatever, but he works for the company. I'm not even going to say what company it is, a multi-billion-dollar company. And he hung up. Then 15 minutes later on, the security manager sent me a message. I still got copies of that message, and told me that, and accused me of speaking with someone with a very thick accent from overseas. Man, I was pissed off. That pissed me off. Yes, it did. Because I know that they were accusing me of being a spy. You're talking about 22 years in the military with 6 years working at the White House. Do you honestly believe I could be a goddamn spy working at the White House? Trust me, that would never happen. It was all psychological warfare, guys. Now, this is another one, right? So, about 4:30 one very cold morning, I left my house, right? I left my house, and about 50 feet later, I saw this guy with his driver's side window rolled down. And I'm telling you, it was very cold, guys. And noticeably, hanging from his neck was a huge chain. And he made sure that every light in his car was turned on because he wanted me to see that bling, stopped, and engaged him in conversation. Or so he thought. And as I drove by, I remembering him waving at me as if to ask if I wanted to talk. And I slowed down, lowered my window, and spat outside in his direction. He was obviously fishing. because I'm supposed to be a drug dealer, spy, or sleeper cell boy. To be frank, guys, I have no doubt that someone lied to these people about me, and every enlisted personnel who knows exactly who they are. Now check this out, guys. So while I was in Italy, right, my supervisor, and if you are an enlisted guy, enlisted guys, because I was enlisted guy, you got to hear this, especially if you're E6, 7, or 8, you got to hear this. So while I was in Italy, stationed in Italy, my supervisor called me to the office, and he then swung his computer around and showed me a letter that one of the society's members had written to his supervisor and fellow member of the clan. He was shameless, guys. These are people that are supposed to be all about the army value, you know, clothed in integrity and honor. But this guy was shamelessly, and I'm talking about the society people, because these society people have no honor, and that is why I would love for Congress, like I said in a previous episode, to create a body to vet these guys, investigate them, and get rid of them. They're an infestation in the military. So this guy shamelessly, like they all are, they have no integrity, guys, and they're traitors. They are traitors because they took an oath, and every single one of them, they didn't mean it, because they stalked their own people. The moment you join that organization, you're a terrorist, because, and like I said in a previous episode, the people who started that organization were true patriots, man. These guys were true patriots, nationalists, people who love their country and their people. But somewhere along the line, some guys came, man, and changed this whole organization for the worse. They have using these people to gang-stalk their own countrymen. Can you imagine that? These are people who took an oath to defend against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. And they took an oath, and they're turning around to stalk their own people. How shameful can that be? Talking about, I am a spy? You're in no position to label me as such, because you are actually the enemy. Who the hell are you? So check this out, guys. That guy that I'm talking about in Italy, and service member, if you're listening, listen to this one. He was asking my supervisor over there in Italy, show me the letter that this guy wrote. He was asking for a good performance evaluation before the next promotion board that year. He was reminding them, he was reminding them that he was a member of the society. And when I was in the service, we all know who these guys are. If you notice, I didn't say which organization it was, right? Because there's a whole bunch of organizations out there, right? This guy was reminding them that he was a member of the society and that he was ready to be treated special. And should I say, a move that would potentially see him passing his peers and those who depended on their merits, not connections, depend on their merit, not connections, to be promoted. Because a lot of these guys, these good, great enlisted guys out there, they're not in that stuff. They're not trying and I know a lot of these guys. I serve with a lot of these guys. These guys are honorable. A lot of these guys are honorable. These guys are not into that craziness that's going to see them get promoted over their peer by cheating. That's all it is, cheating. And so you find a lot of good people, like one of my buddies, David, one of the most intelligent men that I've ever served with. But he wouldn't make it. They didn't allow him to make it to the top because he was not a part of the club. It's hard to get up there if you are not a part of the club. But one day, an investigation will reveal them all. One day. I know the military is trying. Trust me. I saw it when I was there. They're trying. Now, for those of you who do not know, guys, trust me when I say this, the military is very, very impartial, well-disciplined, and a most respectable and honorable institution. It is the real deal, guys, and one which could care less about these people. The problem is that there is hardly anything that can be done to remove them. Now, check this out. So, I should be visiting Jamaica, the land of beautiful Jamaica, the land of my birth, very soon. Just can't wait. I cannot wait. Matter of fact, I'm building a house down there. Now, check this out. And I'm quite certain, guys, and I'm quite certain that this pseudo-secret society and their trainers will be following me a little more closely than before, because I'm supposed to be a spy, a drug dealer, and a sleeper cell guy. I'm supposed to be that guy who is about to leave with information. Right? That's crazy. Guys, I'll also show you my boarding pass. I think I'm gonna run out live when I pick up my boarding pass. And I'm gonna show you the 4 S's. They put all sort of labels on me. You gotta understand, when I worked in the military, they didn't do this because they knew that if they tried that crap with me, somebody was gonna be questioned. And because they know that they were wrong, they didn't do it. At least if they did it, they hid it. They hid it very, very well. And then when I left the military, then I was bullseye for them. So like I said, when I get to the airport, I'm gonna show you my boarding pass and show you the 4 S's, which means that I am a candidate for additional screening by the TSA. Guys, you got to understand when I say this, right? Check this out, right? So the United States is considered to be the most technologically advanced nation on earth, and it is, right? I mean, if 2 octopuses in the middle of the ocean decided to go for a date in the Mariana Trench, which according to scientists is the deepest point on earth, and I have no doubt that the United States could detect those 2 octopuses snacking on some crab legs and drinking from an aquifer seeping through a crack in the ocean floor, right? So do you honestly believe that I could be a spy, a drug dealer, or belonging to a sleeper cell without being caught and slowly turned over a low fire in the woodline? This is nothing more than slander, and all because the society was unsuccessful in destroying my life. So what they and their friends did? Their friends and those in positions of power did, because like I said in one of my previous episodes, they recruit people that work in certain discipline because they needed that power. The club is all about power. They have no true power. And so they recruit people who have access to power. And they use those people like puppets to go after people for some petty, real petty stuff, guys. You would believe that they would go after some drug dealer, some terrorist, or they're gonna go after American citizens who are honorable, who have served their country, police officers, soldiers, and lawyers, doctors. I heard that they were running around behind this doctor. I mean, they will stalk anything that is good because they are of the devil. They are not good, guys. They are not good. So all they did was slap a label on me after listening to, and I know how they did it. When I applied for the job at the White House, one of my haters, they had to talk to one of my haters, and after listening to this well-placed hater during my background check, and believe me, they were over there in Italy, and I had a lot of haters over there in Ity. I guarantee you that one of them over there made up some crap and fed it to them over there, and like a fool, well, let me say let me not say like a fool, because all these guys were strategically placed to put me in my place, or so they thought. None of them can put me in my place because I am highly favored by my God. And my future, my life, my destiny has always been in his hands. So do you honestly believe? Guys, one day I'm going to show you the home where I was raised in. And if God could bring me from such a humble beginning to where I'm at today, do you honestly believe that he's going to allow these demons to destroy me? I highly doubt that. And let me say, I must admit that they were successful in preventing me from making certain advances in life. But that was That was what my God wanted for me. And so he used my haters to streamline my future. You know, as a 17-year-old kid in Jamaica, I recall reading the entire Bible, guys. And there's this one particular question that I asked myself one day. Why was the word wicked mentioned so many times in the Bible, in those scriptures? And today I know exactly why. Man, Jesus, there are some very bad people running around here, and they do not fear God. These people are so evil, they don't even know that they're evil. They don't. It's like a crazy person who does not know that you're crazy. These people are so evil that they have no idea that they are. And anyone who does not fear God, guys, is capable. You got to remember, these people have no fear God, have no fear for God, and anyone who does not fear God is capable of great evil. Matter of fact, I believe that every person on this planet Earth will be held accountable for their actions regardless of how insignificant the act, and which is why I'm so afraid of the man. And because of that presumption, guys, I am scared. I am scared to do that which is wrong. Because I know that if I do something wrong, I'm going to be judged. Now, that is my thought process. And that is why I am the way I am. I don't hurt people. I'm not into revenge. I'm not into taking food off the table of children and families. I'm not into that sort of thing, you know. I believe that, and I also believe that, you know, it is good to do good, man. Honestly, it is good. It feels good to do good. It has to take a lot of energy to hate, right? A lot of energy. Can you imagine these gang stalkers out there? They got to be, and I'm telling you, when I look in their faces, they all look sad. And I feel sorry for them. And believe me when I say this, gang stalkers, I'm not angry. Pseudo-secret society, I'm not angry at you. I don't hate you. I don't. I really don't hate you. I forgive you for your actions. I leave it all to God. Because vengeance is mine, said the Lord. So I never hated you. I never have. I never will. Trust me. I believe, guys, I believe that if God is for you, then no weapon designed by the enemy will ever bring harm to you. I heard a lot of people previously talking about these gangsters, they call them worms and maggots, and I would never do that. They are wonderful people. They're just being misled, and they're possessed and need to be cleansed. That's all it is. They're lost. They're lost. Because if these guys understand, gang stalking is a psychological warfare. And if you are not prepared for such an attack, people driving behind you every day, then you could get mad and attack them, right? You could. I can see how a lot of people could do it or follow them home. It is a psychological attack on the target. Thank God I was prepared long before I even knew what was coming. My God had prepared me. My God had prepared me. And these people that are gang stalking others don't even know how devastating that act can be against a guy or gal who's not prepared. It can be. I thought about it. Initially, when they started messing with me, I was angry. But I quickly got a hold of myself. Pick up that book from the course that I did, the Master Resilience course, and went over every page. Read my Bible. Did a lot of praying, a lot of fasting. And here I am, like an oak tree, in a place that God has designed for me. But I can see how it could be harmful to those who are not prepared. Today, I put everything in perspective. I laugh at them when I see them. I really do, because they are looking so stupid. Now, check this out, guys. So, one day, right, my stepmother, And you got to listen to this one, gang stalker. My stepmother, who wanted me gone, and I'm going to do a whole episode on this. She was in the process of killing 6-year-old me when my father, who decided to return home earlier than scheduled, caught her in the act. Now, fast forward that 6 years later, and I was on patrol one night and led by a corporal named Koja Brown in the Jamaica Defense Force. We were on patrol when a bad guy that night sprayed a hail of bullets towards us. I mean, this guy was so close in the dark that I could see sparks. I could see the sparks from the weapon. I could see sparks as those bullets exited the barrel of that weapon, guys. And a few years later, I had a couple of close calls in Afghanistan. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. Now, what I'm trying to say when I touch on those events briefly, what I'm trying to say is that whenever God inserts himself in matters concerning his people, there is hardly anything the devil can do about it. It is said that God gave his toughest fights to his strongest soldiers, right? You see, the society and their friends with power thought that they were going to, these guys thought that they were going to waltz into my life and destroy it, then celebrate. But unbeknownst to them, my God had other plans for me. And you got to understand that a lot of these people who are trying to ruin me does not believe in God. They profess to do so. They profess to believe in God, but they don't. They go to church. Because if they really and truly believe in God, they would have lived completely different. They would be forgiven, uplifting, and they would shine. You know, they would shine, and not looking sad and withdrawn like Droopy, that cartoon character Droopy. That's how their faces look when I see them in their cars. I feel they look demonic in their cars, guys. I mean, some of these guys are of the Big Bang Theory, or claim, some of them don't believe in God, or claim to be godly, like that boy Lucifer did before he rebelled. So it is no wonder, guys, that they are so blind to God's prevailing protection for his people. When God is for his people, it's obvious, because you're powerful. You are powerful, not almighty now. Only God is. Not even the devil is almighty. You are very powerful. Thousands of you against one person. And still, he rises. Doesn't mean that a person is better than you. No, I'm not better than you guys. I am just an average guy with no power except that which cometh from God. You should see, right? God's prevailing protection for his people, right? It's obvious. You're not going to destroy me. And I'm not daring you. I would never do that. I'm just trying to save you. That sometimes there are people out here that are favored, highly favored. And when you messes with those people, God could end up destroying you. Now check this out, guys. So I never had to worry about, and I'm being honest, I never had to worry about whether the police or some federal agent would come and kick in my door at 2 o'clock in the morning. I never have to. I always go to bed and sleep like a baby. And then those nights, when I'm unable to sleep because I might have worked out too much or whatever, then I use that Master Resilience Trainer's course from the military to go to sleep. Guys, I refuse to let these people live rent-free in my head. I still work out. I knock out 100 push-ups every night and 100 sit-ups. whole bunch of planks and so forth. I have no time, and I don't even pay attention to you guys on the road except when I'm ready for a certain, let me not say, but I really don't pay attention to you guys anymore. I really don't. No, sir. So check this out, guys. So one day, while on active duty, 2 members of this pseudo-secret society approached me to ask. I think I was up there on Camp David when 2 members, and I'm using that base so those 2 pseudo-secret society guys can, that should jag their member to let them to know that I knew exactly what you guys were up to. So I was up on Camp David one day when 2 members of the pseudo-secret society approached me to ask about my opinion concerning their organization. And I gave them a very rosy answer. I gave them a very flowery answer, knowing that they were sent by a more powerful member of the club to test me. But deep down, guys, I wanted to tell them that they lacked integrity and how much I despised them, because I had never forgotten what they had done to that sergeant major in Savannah, Georgia in 2001. So this is what happened, right? So as a young sergeant, I had just showed up to my newly assigned unit, and I was coming from over there in Hawaii. And during those days, guys, as a young sergeant, I was in love with the Army values. I mean, at that time, I saw everything in black and white. It was either you were wrong or right, ethical or unethical. And that, guys, that mentality eventually gave me, got me rather, the attention of the society, who, by the way, believed in favoritism, and who, in my opinion, was tampering with that which I held in high esteem. And so after arriving in Georgia, guys, one afternoon, I remember hearing 2 seniors, it was an E8 and an E7 guys, they were laughing so loud with one of them saying, "I heard that mother effer can't even find a job, bro." And I stopped to listen because I was curious. Turned out that they were celebrating the downfall of a sergeant major who, after retiring, could not find a job. They had officially fixed that man. And I guarantee you that was a great man. That was a man who was dignified, respectable, and was never mixed up in that stuff. So they ganged up on him and fixed him. So check this out. Knowing me, I decided to do some research and found out that there was an organization in the Army that targets service members for membership and much more. Well, not just one organization, a bunch of them. And so, let me say one. Only one. One organization. And so I was very disappointed. Matter of fact, it broke my heart, man. Because at the time, I believe that some of the people, especially the higher ranking enlisted guys, were beyond reproach. But I was naive, and my naivety was confirmed in Iraq, 2005, when I went to see a sergeant major about an ethics, I think it was an ethics violation concerning another person. And I remember telling him that him telling me that there was nothing that he could do about it. But what about the Army values, Sergeant Major? I remember saying, I was a young sergeant, man. I was high on Army values, integrity and honor. I was high on that stuff. And I remember at that point, the Sergeant Major got up from behind his desk, walked past me, and locked the door. He then sat me down and said, "Son, not everything is what it appears to be. This is the real world," he continued. And he was right. And you know what? I learned a vital lessons that day. I learned to never trust the words of another man, regardless of their position or status. I also learned that everyone in positions of real power in our society was believable. I mean, in other words, their statement, whether true or false, will always be taken at face value. Always, guys. And that is why these guys are so good at hiding in plain sight. Have you guys heard this quote before? The greatest trick that the devil pulled was to convince the world he doesn't exist, which is often associated with the movie The Unusual Suspects. Have you guys ever heard that before? Now, I have said this before, and I'm going to say it again, that I believe, guys, that the military, the army, because that's my branch. I don't know about the other branches, right? They're probably not, they're probably different. But I know, I'm not going to talk about another branch because I don't know anything about them. But the army could do a lot better without these guys, because it is too great of an organization to have this lot in its ranks. And I know that the military is trying, like I said earlier, to reduce their effectiveness and sway over the enlisted ranks. But like barnacles on a whale, it's going to be hard to rid that great organization of them. Matter of fact, and a lot of people might think that I'm angry at these people. No, I'm not. I see them as my fellow countrymen who have been misled, who have been tricked into joining that organization. Because you could not pay me a goddamn $1 million to go and stalk my fellow countrymen. Because I did take an oath. I'm a veteran. And I have certain beliefs. You couldn't pay me enough to stalk my fellow countrymen. It's not going to happen. I am not that low. I'm not that low. I have values. I'm a good person. There's no way anyone in this world could get me to stalk another person, because I'm not a criminal. It doesn't feel right. Saying it doesn't even feel right. So check this out, guys. So 2 of their guys, remember when I told you about those 2 guys that I met up there at Camp David a couple years ago? Well, while I was up there, after they asked me about that organization, they then invited me to a shooting range in 2018. And unbeknownst to me, guys, that range belongs to the federal government. You see, somebody wanted me there. They wanted to know what type of weapon I had, and also to collect my spent shell. And I'm still trying to understand their reason for that operation, because I had never threatened anyone before. But that doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter, because in these people's world, and also one that is governed by lies, deception, slander and hate and destruction of people, ethics and integrity is nothing but a farce. Now, in my case, all they needed was the right person in the right attire and position to confirm whatever lies they were going to use against me. Hell, I was labeled a spy, right? I was labeled a spy and a drug dealer, and was even called on the phone to be accused of being in a sleeper cell. So anything was possible. Now, after I was through shooting that day, I remember one of the 2 people who invited me to that location, my active duty co-worker to be specific, and a very charismatic Mexican guy, walked over, and while engaging me in conversation, I saw him use he had my rifle like this, then he put it down and he used his pinky fingers to secure 2 of my shells. He got up and walked away. Guess what? That guy, he had the societies tattooed on the upper portion of his arm. It was obvious for everyone to see. Now, between Washington, D.C., where my DNA was collected after this man asked me for some water and I gave him my half bottle of water to drink, and he took it and put it in a Ziploc bag and walked into a Mercedes-Benz, and this guy collecting my shell at that range, All that was needed, guys, all that was needed was a staged crime scene. But my God, and I was worried about that, but my God has always been involved in my life, which is why members of the society and their affiliates in positions of powers have not been able to frame me. And it's possible that man, like I'm going to Jamaica pretty soon, and I am worried that they might slip something, a key of cocaine in my luggage when it gets out of sight, or put some craziness in I think about that all the time, guys. You know what I did? Last time I went to Jamaica, I videoed my bag, the contents, and lock it. And then I put my camera in the vehicle and all the way to so I might have to do that again, because I was scared that they were going to set me up, guys. I was so scared that they were going to set me up. And so I have a right to worry. Guys, I believe that, and I'm saying this without any doubt, that evil is real. It is real. And my message to anyone who is watching this episode, to never believe the word of another man or a woman unless you have proof. Because if you are the type of person who believes easily, then you can be easily manipulated. And a lot of you guys are decent. Most of you guys are decent people. Most of you guys are decent people who would not in a second, or never in a second, hurt another person. Especially when you know that it's based on a lie, that the accusation is based on a lie. Because decent people are going to act accordingly, right? So now, guys, check what. So I want you guys to know, right? I want you guys to know that if you guys ever find yourself a target for gang stalking in the future, because it's going to happen, they target people every day. Please never allow them to elicit any negative reaction from you. Also, do not let them live rent-free in your head. When you hit the road, you just drive your vehicle. And just don't pay them attention. Just go about your ways and not pay them attention. That is the best way to navigate your way through these valleys of shadows of death of wicked people. All right. So with that said, guys, this can conclude my episodes, and I hope to see you guys next week. Now, please share and subscribe, and don't forget to like. And may God bless and continue to watch over you and your family. Peace out and take care.